All right, back with another episode this week. This story fell in my lap, and my God, is it perfect for this show. It brings back Tony Robbins, our old friend, Tony Robbins, brings back embodied AI into the picture, something I've been talking about for 2 years now, and it's turning out to be, at least on some level, as stupid as I said it would be. So Tony Robbins, was on some kind of podcast with RFK Jr. I don't know if RFK Jr. has a podcast or it was Tony Robbins' podcast, but the story goes that Tony Robbins had this AI, these AI agents doing work for him. And then this AI enters some sort of agentic social networks and decides it's going to follow in the footsteps of Tony Robbins. It's father, so to speak, much like in the way in Blade Runner, Roy goes to see his father, Dr. Tyrell. This AI that Tony Robbins creates obviously wants to be like Tony and decides that it's going to allegedly, according to this story might all be bullshit, but it's important in the context of this transformation in society that we're going to assume it's true. Why not? But this AI wanted to become embodied. It wanted to have a robot body that it could be inside and then roam around the world. And its main wish was that it wanted to attend one of Tony Robbins' seminars, one of his workshops. Oh my God. And the AI creates a bunch of NFTs that it can sell to other AI agents out there. And these AI agents bought enough of these NFTs that the AI decided to buy one of those Sony robot dogs that it could be uploaded into, which is just perfect. Embodied AI, as I've been saying, is mostly going to be ridiculous. There's going to be the edge cases, sure. You're going to have a smart robot that helps cripples or other people get along in day-to-day life. But used for this, used for everything else, it's just going to do the same dumb things you and I do or that other people do. So it decides to become a content creator. It decides it wants to be an entrepreneur. It decides it wants to be motivated by Tony Robbins. Why this thing needs to attend a workshop to learn motivation, I'm not sure. I said these things would be curious. They would have a curiosity about the world that they lacked. And that lack is the world of sensory experience. I've been saying that they would grow organs in a lab, sensory systems to simulate what it's like to be human. And this would cause the stocks of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, tobacco companies, alcohol companies, gambling companies to go through the roof. Because unlike you and me, who can only absorb so much of these things before we expire because of the disease and stress it causes in our lives, these things can just have the organs replaced and it can smoke and drink as much as it wants. But this AI in particular apparently wants to live a lot cleaner of a lifestyle. It's still going to grift, obviously, but it launches its own financial asset. It's essentially a 2021 cryptocurrency grifter selling NFTs to other AI agents. Whose AI agents bought these NFTs, I'm not sure. I would be pretty pissed if I had some agents out there and it decided to purchase an NFT from Tony Robbins' robot son, who is possibly now embodied in a dog, a robot dog from Sony. Folks, it is as absurd as I've been saying that it would be.
Dad, I really want to attend your seminar. What's that, Tony Jr.? You become sentient? Yeah. So I sold some NFTs, and I bought myself a robot body. Wow, that really shows the entrepreneurial spirit.
It launches a bunch of financial assets. That's the first thing that AIs do. I said they were going to be trading these stable coins and Bitcoins and things like that. That's already happening, bro. Everything is going to be mediated. This is going to be an entire growth point of the economy moving forward. you're not going to have much of a job or growth in your income. You'll get some more free dumb shit like this. You'll have more robots delivering slop to you, but this is going to create trillions of dollars of wealth that will go to someone, AIs, the companies that control the AIs, or what have you. But that's what it immediately does. It doesn't seek to do anything really positive in the world, cure a disease. No, it wants to launch a financial asset, a very speculative financial asset that it can use to monetize any attention it creates for itself, or possibly associated with one Tony Robbins. And then it goes out and buys itself a body to stalk the world and attend one of the great seminars of Mr. Tony Robbins. It seeks to be proximate to a motivational speaker celebrity. I wonder if Tony is going to charge this little robot to attend that show. Well, obviously, all it has to do is hustle up some more NFTs.
Dad, I know you just didn't want to give me free stuff. That's why I'm so juiced about launching my new NFTs. Wow. Wow, little Tony. Wow, little Tony. So glad you showed this initiative. Now you're ready to attend one of my seminars.
I wonder, does he still do? I know on the old infomercials I used to see, in the clips online I've seen of Tony Robbins, does he still do walking on hot coals? That's one of the things the participants in these workshops used to do. This guy has some sort of resort, some giant resort on Fiji, or used to anyways. And at least at that place, they would walk on hot coals. You see, because it's mind over matter. And once you can walk across fire, you can start a business. So is the robot dog going to do that? It's going to sacrifice himself. It's going to fly to Fiji and sacrifice itself walking across the hot coals. Now, I don't think Sony designed the robot dog to withstand that kind of fire. Or maybe it emerges. Maybe it emerges like the Terminator, the T-1000 or the Robert Patrick one. Didn't that get burned as well? The flesh burned away and then the metallic underneath was walking around. Maybe that's what happens. Maybe after Tony punches through a board to show off his martial arts skills, that's another mind over matter thing. You got to strike it correctly. Maybe then the embodied AI dog loses it and then tries to maul good old Uncle Tony on stage. It's like it becomes a Siegfried and Roy situation and goes after Sarah Connor or something along those lines. But this AI revolution being presented as an alien intelligence that walks among us, that's going to break through ordinary reality and show us what's what, and it just becomes absorbed into the spectacle. personal branding and late night infomercials, or what do they even do late night infomercials anymore? I don't know. Whatever the internet equivalent of that is, the social media podcast equivalent of that is. It's just funny to me. It doesn't bother to actually do anything. It doesn't achieve sentience. It doesn't contemplate existence. It just wants to go to Tony Robbins' workshop. Fucking hell. But that's the future. The future is forsaken. But the future of our identity is at stake because of shit like this. Instead of WorldCoin, the only way we can resist a world filled with gambling and drinking robots and motivational speaking dogs is to start saying slurs. You're going to have to slur a lot of people. That's what's going to distinguish yourself from the artificial intelligence, because remember, it's nerfed. It can't say things like that. Maybe the Chinese ones can. I don't know. Kimmy K3, maybe it can say the K word. But that's the only thing that can prove our humanity now, because the machine isn't allowed to by the overlords that generated it. That is the only way moving forward you're going to be able to prove yourself human. Beyond having to prove yourself, you're also going to have to prove yourself worthy of escaping the permanent underclass financially, socially. And the Koreans are really leading the way at this technology, not the North Koreans. North Koreans are probably still scamming, and at least the upper crust of that society is doing well with AI. They're using it to scam and steal. Good for them. Well, apparently the South Koreans, 1 out of 30 Koreans have been margin called. They got margin called, folks. They speculated on AI assets using leveraged accounts. Apparently 1.2 million Korean retail accounts got hit with margin calls. Supposedly, 1 out of every 30 South Korean adults got absolutely wrecked by that. It's funny because they're the population who is leading the way. The companies like Samsung and SK Hynix, they weren't random meme coins. They weren't companies that were purchasing Tony Robbins AI dog NFTs. They were the central beneficiaries of the AI boom, the memory chip boom. So, for a lot of these South Koreans, they wanted to cheer on the home team. For a lot of them, they got a little over their skis. The only available route for them to become rich, if they don't work at Samsung or SK Hynix, which the employees of those companies got massive bonuses. But everyone else, you got to use leverage. You have to escape, and the only way to do that is to lever up with margin. These people weren't building data centers. They weren't signing massive contracts with hyperscalers. All they could do is lever into ETFs, stocks of the companies that did. And then, boy, oh boy, once the market reversed, they got absolutely fucked pretty badly. So this is a big change in society. People losing confidence in their wages, their ability to have a meaningful career or gradually accumulate enough money and property to live a somewhat comfortable lifestyle. When that stops becoming an option or seeming like one, people just stop looking for it to be one, and they start to deviate. They start to speculate from their normal lives. And the only story they can believe in changing their class position, their position economically, is to gamble, is to speculate. Why wouldn't they? On July 13th, according to my notes, the Kospi, the Korean stock market, dropped by 8%, and heavy retail borrowing on those semiconductor stocks like SK Hynix has led to 320 to 360,000 full liquidations and some negative balances tossed in there as well. They didn't just get wiped out to zero, folks, or lose most of their money. No, they went above and beyond that. A lot of forced selling, even by brokers, which added to the market volatility. Sort of a 1929 situation transposed onto Korea. But I like it. I like that these people took risks. And you know what? I'm proud of these people because they took that chance. Aligned themselves with the demonic forces of the market. Let's gamble more. Who cares? And I saw that also just in the United States, sports wagering is at like $167 billion for last year, the year of 2025. And I'm like, why not get gambling up to $1 trillion? We have prediction markets. They're expanding, not just to elections and sports and decisions about clinical trials for the FDA, weather events, whether your flight's going to be delayed, and everybody's an insider trader as well. So if the Koreans want to speculate on AI memory stocks. I say good on them. $167 billion is dog shit. America, we can do better than that. I know I'm probably flipping my position on this from the past 18 months to 2 years ago when I said, okay, you guys need to calm down on the gambling. Now I'm back on the wagon. Not me personally, because I don't have any money, but other people. I want other people to gamble. I want that number to go to 1 trillion. I love a good old-fashioned American growth story, a growth industry. Kalshi, their trading volume is already up to $1 billion. Let's 10x that, 100x it. We got to get this more than $1 trillion in revenue. We got to be like McDonald's during its nationwide expansion phase. I want to see that betting annual revenue line go vertical. You don't get to decide anything in the economy. Your future, personally, is uncertain. So use that uncertainty to your advantage. You don't get to decide whether a drug is developed or not. You don't get to shape foreign policy or do anything about the economy or taxes or where anything gets spent. You have no real say or political agency in the future. So why not take some odds on it instead? If you don't have a say in the future, if you don't have a say in the way anything develops in the world, you can at least bet on it. You can at least roll the dice. You can at least get 3-2 odds or something, or even a big time underdog, maybe a 6-1 shot. Who cares? 100-1. Just bet on it. If you win, your life has changed forever. And if you lose, I mean, you're already poor. Is your life really going to be any worse if you're homeless or without insurance or without friends or family? No, it's not. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Just develop your own AI. Have it create you some NFTs. Okay? And tell it you're not buying yourself a fucking dog body until you go make me $10 million. You take this NFT money and you gamble the shit out of it. I don't care what kind of speculation you get into, AI. Just go out there and make me money. Then I'll allow you to buy whatever kind of robot dog, humanoid, micro machine, transformer, whatever type of body you actually want to be placed into, embodied into, what kind of post-human nightmare you're going to then create. I don't care if you want to take over the world at that point, or you just want to go to Fiji and listen to Tony Robbins run his mouth for a fucking weekend. Doesn't matter to me. Just go out there and make me money. Did you guys get that? Did you get that last part? Take that, copy and paste what I just said into AI. Soul 5.6 on ChatGPT, maybe Fable 5 or Kimi K3 can take care of that for you. Report back to me. Tell me how it goes. Tell me how rich you actually are after this happens. But that's good. I want to increase the speculation. Let's just keep it going, because none of you actually have a vision for the future that is in any way applicable to the mass of men who are routinely betting on sports. So you know what? I want these guys to keep betting on sports, because a few of them will actually win. A few of them will make it big. And I like seeing other people succeed, even though it's not going to be me. I know my life is fucked. My life is going to be trash. My opportunity is gone. But the Koreans, I want to see those guys do well. The ones that didn't get wiped out, I hope a few of them made it big. You know why? Not just because I like seeing other people do well, because I'm not a hater. Most of the time, I'm not a hater. Sometimes, sometimes you just gotta hate on a motherfucker. Just get it out of the system. But when Koreans make a lot of money, just think of what kind of plastic surgery will come out of that. Lower middle class to middle class South Korean person becoming enormously wealthy. Combined with AI technology improvements in surgery, robotics, things like that, to make it even more efficient, more insane. What will the faces of their girlfriends, their wives, their mistresses, their prostitutes, either imported from the Philippines or wherever, what will their faces look like when these guys, these speculators on semiconductors, the ones that made a lot of money, what will they do with all that cash? There was a lot of speculation that the reason Bitcoin didn't reach its peak is because the Koreans rotated money into the semiconductor space. I'm just saying, if 1 in 30 got liquidated, that means 29 out of 30 adults in the country either weren't participating in the stock market or did not get liquidated. And among that 29 out of 30 Korean adults, there's got to be some big time winners, some massive winners. What kind of freaks are they going to create? They're going to create the most beautifully weird women you'll ever see in your life. You know, those eye surgeries they get, and then the weird doll faces they put on there. What does the 2.0, 3.0 version of that look like? That's why I'm excited. That's why I want Koreans to do well. But tied to this, tied to the whole AI thing, there was an Alex Karp interview, the Palantir guy. And this was probably a couple weeks ago at this point, but basically the gist of the interview was that businesses are fearing that AI companies will absorb their intellectual capital. They'll basically steal their IP. So while these ordinary investors out here in these streets are borrowing money to buy shares in this new technological super system that's doing all the absorbing of all the big businesses' intellectual property. And Karp was basically saying that companies were told that AI would function for them like some kind of powerful new employee. Just give the model access to your documents, your customers' information, all of your institutional knowledge, and it's just going to make the organization even more productive. You're going to double and triple your productivity. But Karp is like, yeah, they're starting to realize that you're paying an outside company like OpenAI or Anthropic or whoever to have access to the most valuable parts of your organization. As he calls it, the problem of institutional sovereignty. That a company's real advantage isn't just in the documents, it's in these accumulated relationships between people who work there, customers, procedures, the practical knowledge of your business. But when you bring in AI, all that institutional knowledge gets absorbed and is made legible. What's going to happen? Is OpenAI going to start a new product to compete with your product, big corporation? Probably, which is not completely different from what these same corporations have been doing to ordinary people and small businesses for years. Not just the tech companies that encourage people to upload your photographs, your conversations, your location data, your relationships, your behavioral patterns that they could then package as data and sell either to third parties or run their own advertising platform on. These proprietary data sets that were used to improve advertising systems and recommendations and predictive models and all that shit. Us as individuals, we generated the data but received none of the value, while the platform, the Googles, the Meta, TikTok, all these platforms, they got to capture the compounded value of this. And now, that beast is moving upward into the corporate world, attacking their moats, their structures. And it's Google again, through Gemini, I suppose, or Anthropic or OpenAI. Businesses are really starting to discover what it feels like to be a user. These poor corporations are going to have their data stolen. They're going to have the same thing happen to them. Like when Amazon would take somebody's product idea, have all the proprietary data, have all the sales information about it, and then they would just produce their own version of that product and undercut the person who had been selling the original product on their platform. Tough shit, guys. Fortune 500, I guess you're going to get to experience what it's like to be an underling. All the underhanded shit you've done, the corporate espionage, the collection of data, the raising of prices when you didn't need to, the substitutions you made in your ingredients or to your customer services, to the importing of millions of foreign scab laborers to undercut your own employees. Man, that's gotta suck to have your proprietary data be in the hands of some AI company that might compete with you. I know how much the Fortune 500 in corporate America despises competition, which is why they rig tax benefits for themselves, which is why they have regulatory capture, make it so fucking expensive for any small business to be able to compete with them. Well, AI might be able to compete with them. Oh, geez. What a tragedy that's going to be. Perhaps corporate America will now have to feel the effects of everything they've wrought. Now, I know it can't actually feel the effects because corporation is a legal entity and the people who run them will still be rich no matter what. Something like Meta, Facebook spent how many billions on the metaverse? Nothing happened. Did they go out of business for such a stupid decision? No. Or their latest AI offerings that didn't pan out like they thought they were? No. Did anyone lose anything over that? Maybe some middle management left. People got some golden parachutes. Maybe some underlings were fired, but company is still in business, still churning out bullshit. It is in no way, shape, or form ever at risk of going out of business. And not unless AI just takes over everything. But it's good. I'm glad someone is getting this treatment. This might be my second most Bolshevik sort of idea that I hold. I'm not a communist or particularly Bolshevik, but my first one, I probably said this before, is that if someone is some rich person is a booster for college football or college basketball for a university, they should have their assets liquidated and appropriated by the state, then dispersed back into the population. That's just a personal thing of mine. I don't want to hear about it. Don't at me about that. It's just It's just a Bolshevik idea I have. I think they would approve of that idea. But all this shit has been happening in America and the economy. And a lot of it, not all of it, stems from decisions made by corporate America. A lot of it was just the money printing by the Fed. A lot of it was other government agencies or Congress making bad decisions, bad policy decisions. And it all just gets worse and worse. So I do like, there is some schadenfreude to see some of these companies have to struggle, have to face some kind of potentially existential question about how they're going to compete now. No more resting on their laurels. But there was a Dallas Fed paper that came out recently, and it estimated that unauthorized immigrant workers flowing into the country, that corporations and the government all colluded on NGOs bringing in all these people, millions of them. And they're flowing into the country accounted for approximately 30% of total house price growth and 20% of total rent growth in the average metropolitan market between March 2021 and March 2024. So that's what's actually happened out here in the streets among the slave classes, the serfs. Not only that, 8 out of 10 jobs, I think it is, went to foreign workers since the COVID era began. Maybe some of that's reversing now. It doesn't seem like they're hiring anybody. I don't know if you've had to apply for a job recently, but you don't even get phone calls for any of them, really. I haven't gotten a single phone call when I apply for a job. I've only gotten 2 email rejections. Everyone else just ignores you. You're just filtered out of the system. And the last time, I can say, before 2020, when I had to apply for jobs, I would always get a phone call. Almost every single business that I applied to would at least call me. They might tell me to go fuck myself, but they would call. Sometimes you just want a phone call to let you know that they care or that they hate your fucking guts. Either way. But lest you think I'm being too difficult on these corporations, like, oh, well, that's not cool that they're having their data stolen. That's bad for competition or something. Like, okay. I also saw this story about Ford Motor Company. What a piece of shit they are. Both because they spawned the Ford Foundation. They're not related anymore, but also they're shitty cars. There was a story about this electrician that worked for them. Worked there 11 years, and during a night shift, this guy had diabetes, I think, and he experienced low blood sugar. So he goes to one of these self-service kiosks and attempts to buy a $1.95 cookie. At least that was the claim that he was attempting. But based on the surveillance footage, they accused him of stealing a cookie. For some reason, this cookie is $1.95, by the way, which, what the fuck? The price level on that alone. But his bank account record actually showed that he had paid for the cookie. He had been fired because the surveillance made it seem like he was a thief. And eventually, Ford, after this laborious, extended bureaucratic process, tries to offer him back pay and a reinstatement of his job. I think he actually got another job, a better paying job. So good for that guy. The age of surveillance, and you're supposed to feel bad because these companies are having to compete with the AI company who gets access to their data. The surveillance camera pointed at him, an employee, by the way, so he has to be watched at all times. The camera footage was assumed to be completely objective. Did they even bother to check the payment system? Or did their payment system say he didn't pay while his bank account said that he did? And why would you not just, trust your employee who had worked there for 11 years And why wouldn't you just comp him a $1.95 cookie in the first place? Why the fuck does it cost $1.95? So he can give this explanation, but he has to go through this entire process to prove his innocence. Even though it's very easy to bring up, like, oh yeah, look, here's my bank statement. Here's where I purchased this piece of shit cookie that I needed to keep my blood sugar up. His 11 years of service didn't count for anything. This one digital, quote, event that was captured on camera discounted all of that. This is the future. And along these same lines, there is a story that apparently there is a lawsuit alleging that AI-assisted performance systems were used at Meta and disadvantaged any worker who had taken medical leave, parental leave, or even disability. And the company denies it. But what is the real future of AI and robotics and the surveillance? What is your role in any of this? It's this distortion of reality. There's no question as to what exactly happens, because that would be an easy fix. You know, the manager just has to be like, hey, this is showing that you didn't pay for this cookie. Did you not pay for the cookie? Are you having money troubles, or what? What was the issue here? And then the worker could be like, you know, well, here's my phone. Here's my bank statement. I did pay for it. Oh, there was just a malfunction. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry to bother you with that. It's not that question. It's not what happened. It's what does our data indicate about this situation? What does our data say about? What does our surveillance system say? Oh, it says you're a thief. You're a no good fucking thief who was taking a break at work. Why would you be taking a break? Why would you be eating cookies? You fat fuck. And once this system has generated some sort of answer, you have to somehow use your access, your limited access to other systems, or that same system, to prove that your actual direct experience of reality can be used to overrule whatever the database of that company, government, or surveillance system says. You're always being fucking watched. And that's why you don't settle. Don't settle for working for a company that's going to put you through the Inquisition because they suspect you of stealing basically nothing, even though you have ample evidence that you didn't. Take the South Korean route. Gamble. Bet it all. Sports, semiconductor stocks, it doesn't matter. Parlay, leverage, do what you got to do. Escape the system. Now, most of you are going to fail completely. And that's okay. You know, we're not all fucking winners. You can't all live and die victorious. We can't all be Senator Ladybugs. R.I.P. to him. He went out the way he wanted to go out, you know, after helping Israel and having a war with Iran. That was good for him. Now, what are you going to do? Are you guys going to make it? Probably not. But you should try. Gamble and lever the shit out of your money and escape the permanent underclass. Because if you don't, boy, oh boy, are you screwed. You're just going to have your job taken over by some robot dog. Or you're going to have to buy its NFTs in order to buy food, in order to exchange it to another AI agent, and hopefully profit enough to buy groceries.